Yo. Thank you guys again for listening to the Men Who Cry podcast. Make sure you like, subscribe, review. If you don't do those things, I am thinking you are a January 6er. On this episode today, we will be talking heavy New York. I'm talking, I got 100 guns, 100 Crips. Nigga, I'm from New York type shit. Shout out to Ja Rule. That's probably the first and last time anyone's ever done shout out to Ja Rule in a long time. Probably since 2005. Anyway. On this episode, I'll be talking to my guy, the one and only, one of New York's very own. We should coin that as a phrase. Andrew Corrica. How you doing today, Andrew?
I'm good. How you doing?
It's all good. You got to stay ready so you get ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So yeah, I was talking about the origin of me and Andrew's friendship, and I will get into us on the heavy New York edition of this podcast because me and Andrew have been friends for a long time. Friends when
20 years.
Yeah, I know. Going on, right? It's crazy to put that together. Not yet. 2 more years.
Almost.
2 more years. 2 more years. It's 20 years. Yeah, we had 18 now. We could have had a whole ass child if we had children back when we were in high school. Anyway, speaking of those high school times, back in 2006, me and Andrew met. We were at a boarding school, going to a boarding school out there on Long Island. There was about 15 black kids at this entire school. I might have overshot that by maybe like 7. And so as I feel like most colored folks can attest to, anytime you're in a room and it's a mixed group, the first thing you do is try to find some black people. I don't know why. I feel like that might have been a thing. That's like a natural process that I learned at 14 years old. Because prior to that, I don't know about you, but prior to that, I swear to you, I never went to school. I never saw a white kid. I never saw someone who was white who spoke to me before the age of 12.
Same.
Yeah, like obviously, like there was probably someone white that like spoke to me. That was probably an adult figure.
Yeah,
but I never like had a real conversation with someone who was a not black until 2005. 2004, I think.
Yeah. Same.
Exactly, right? And so like I think just in a natural sense, like that thought process of meeting all the black people just home together was just a thing. My issue was at this school, everyone there was like a legacy kid and I wasn't. So it took me a little bit more time to find my niche.
You did great though.
Yeah, it was great. It worked out, you know.
Yeah.
But no, on this heavy edition, like again, back then, this was 2006 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to know, actually, let me do this right now. I am going to look up what the New York Knicks record was in 2006. Any guesses?
2006?
This is 2006. I'm pretty sure Jamal Crawford was still on the team.
I think he was.
I'll read off I'll read off the list. I'll read off the roster after you get it. But yeah, can you tell me what their record was? Oh, Jesus Christ.
I could probably tell you a couple of guys that were on the team. We were pretty young back then. Like I was watching games, but I wasn't really comprehending what was going on, you know?
Also, there's some teams down here. All right, no, but all right, yeah. What was their record?
If I had to guess,
mm-hmm.
maybe they won 30 games.
Here's how many?
30?
30.
At least.
No, my good sir. They won 23.
Worse than that. Okay, I mean, I wasn't too far off. That's bad.
That's 7 games.
That's bad.
They were 23 and 59. All right. Can you name? Jesus Christ! I'm looking at the roster right now. How many people off this team can you name me?
That sounds 2006.
This is 2006.
Yeah, Steph was there, right? Stephon Marbury.
That's one. Stephon Marbury was on this team.
Curry.
Yeah. Only if.
What's that guy's name? Al
Jefferson?
No. Harrington?
That
was after.
Yes, that was after. He was not on this team.
That was after.
There's a lot of like fake young talent on this team that was
Hmm.
here? Fake young.
What's that other guy? Quentin
You got it.
Richardson?
There we go. There we go. We got two guys. Quentin
Um,
Richardson.
Damn, that was like a weird time. That wasn't like the Keith Van Horn days, was it?
No, no, no. Keith Van Horn was before it.
It was before
I,
that.
I will say the rest of this roster. I'll
Yeah,
go top
please.
bottom that we have. We had Ronaldo Balkman. That's
Oh
small
yeah,
forward.
yeah, yeah. How could I forget?
Yes. Marty Collins was on this
Yep.
team. Jay Crawford, we said before.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you forgot this man. One of the first athletes I truly ever hated in my life. Eddie Curry
Oh
was
yeah.
on
Oh
this
yeah.
team. Shout out
Yeah.
to Eddie Curry, man.
Dang.
Stevie Francis. I remember when they got Steve
Oh
Francis on
yeah.
this team. Yeah.
He was
He
there
got
for like
traded.
10 minutes.
Yeah, because he
He wasn't
got
there for very
traded
long.
midseason.
Yeah.
Jerome James was on the
Yep.
team. Channing Frye, Jared
Oh
Jeffries,
yeah.
David
Yep.
Lee. That was the guy I thought you were going to pick out the most. You ready, St.
That
Quentin
was
Richardson?
early David Lee.
Yes. No, this was David Lee. Yeah, you're right. It was his first year.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised you didn't, because these guys were in
Oh,
the same
Nate.
draft class. Exactly. Nate
Yeah.
Robinson.
That's right.
Malik
Yeah.
Rose was on this team. The reason why me and Andrew just walked you down that very horrible, horrible experience is because we have been watching this damn basketball team for a long time now. We're talking
Too long.
too long. And I can't speak for Andrew. I'll speak for myself personally. There are days I wake up and I go, how did this happen? Like,
Oh yeah.
is
Yeah.
is this really happening? It's almost like I'm living a fever dream and I just keep thinking that like this is not real.
Yep.
Like we're recording this prior to Knicks Lakers, which is going to take place Saturday night. And ESPN did a graphic of all the time, like some moments that LeBron played in MSG. First of all, dog, do you know LeBron's 22-8 in Madison Square
Yep.
Garden?
He
Like,
had
I
some
didn't know that was a.
Yeah.
Say that again.
He had some pretty crazy wins in the Garden.
I remember he had speaking of high school, I remember I think he had a 50-point triple double, but they took away a rebound or they took away an assist or something like that, so he didn't get like the official triple double. But the only reason I remember that is because we had a kid in our high school who despised LeBron and loved Kobe.
Oh yeah.
Those were some great times. And when I tell you this man came, this is when you actually had to get the paper the next day.
Yep.
This man
Yep.
came in with the actual newspaper from, I don't know if it was the Post or whatever, but I came with the
Like
newspaper
Newsday or
with the
something.
headline. It was like the triple doubles was rescinded. I think he lost a rebound or something. And when I tell you this man had so much glee on his face, it looked like first time he had sex. That was the level of hate that was
Yep.
in this man's heart
Yep.
for LeBron.
Number one
James.
hater. Number one LeBron hater.
Number one LeBron hater. Never changed.
Number
He knows
one
who he
Kobe
is.
stan.
Number one Kobe
Yeah.
stan. Number one LeBron hater. I'm not gonna mention his name. He knows who he is out there. But yeah,
Yep.
that is how long this fuckery has lasted. So Andrew, I'm curious from one fan to another who's been riding for this team for years. How does it feel now that not only the team isn't ass, which was generally my borderline of acceptance of I just don't want to be ass anymore, to a team that they can actually, I can't believe I'm saying this, they can actually win the championship this year.
It's a weird feeling. It's such a weird feeling. Um, I remember when they started to become good. I used to watch game because it's so much of our lives has been like, oh, like either we're just getting dog walked every night, or we have a lead, and then they just piss it away, and it's like, oh yeah, of course. And then
Exactly.
there's always like the fake comeback in the fourth quarter where they try a little bit, but then they fall
Knicks
short.
fake comebacks, baby. Those things were stuff of legend.
So then when the team started like starting to put together a couple wins, I had to like fight that. I had to fight that feeling every time, like, oh, this isn't real. This isn't gonna last. This isn't sustainable. And here we are, some like 5 years later, and every day I wake up and I'm like, oh, who we playing? Denver? We go win that game. Oh, who we playing? LA? Yeah, we go win that game.
Dog, there's so many streaks, even to mention to your point, right, about the fake comebacks. what I was mentioning before about like LeBron being 22-8 at the Garden, bro. They played the clip of him flipping the water
Oh
bottle
yeah,
on the.
yeah,
When I tell you, I got re-mad at that. It was like 7 years ago. I
yeah.
like got mad again.
I was thinking about that last night. I was thinking
So
about that last night. That was I was really like I have a lot of respect for LeBron, but that made me really mad at him.
that was the one moment where I was like, "Yo, nah." Someone got. That was the one time I can't believe I said this. I was standing for Enos Cantor
Oh
because
yeah.
yeah, because that was the whole thing where like oh, it was the Dennis Smith Jr. thing
Yep.
where I think
He
they
should have been
played
in
the
it.
night. Yeah, they played the night before in Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
and um, they played the night before in Dallas, and that's when it was Dennis Smith Jr. went after Frank Ntilikina. Frank Ntilikina was the pick before him. I believe it's like the eighth or ninth pick in the draft, and then
Yep.
Dennis Smith Jr. went after him.
Yep.
And LeBron then goes on and basically starts ripping the Knicks randomly because he
Unprompted.
said, yeah, exactly, because he said the Knicks should have drafted Dennis Smith Jr. They made a mistake, basically,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And we were like 20 games into the season. It wasn't even like that long into the year, and that was the time. I don't remember if that was the game they flipped water bottles, but I definitely remember Enos Cantor was like saying something to LeBron because there was a point where like LeBron was almost like stalking Ntilikina on the court. It's a very weird time.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They
but
had like a little weird thing going on, like Frank pushed LeBron like minute two of the game. I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah, because people, you hear stuff, right? And also like your
Hmm.
team's not that good, so it's also what happens. But yeah, like just like yeah, like finish your point off on just the idea of like it wasn't just the fact that they were losing; they were just getting embarrassed.
Smoked day in and day out, every night.
Like, yeah, and it's like I think it just comes to a point where it's like, you know, you don't really care. Like, obviously, people care about wins and losses. Wins and losses happen, but the fact that there were so many times where like the team would just go in and you were like, well, the other team's gonna name the score
Yep.
basically, or it's like you're kind of playing for like half and then you just get smoked out. Like even what you just said, right? I just saw since Jalen Brunson's come to the Knicks have beaten the Nuggets 5 out of 6 times. Dog, they ran off 14 straight against us
Oh yeah. Like the Knicks hadn't won in Denver in like years,
since
right?
'05.
Yeah, yeah.
And it
It's
was a
crazy.
crazy Jamal Crawford turnover, got the ball back, shot a three, and went in. And they didn't win there for another like 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
No, it's not true. They beat them there last year. This was the first year they
Well,
beat them
yeah,
with Jokic in
right,
Denver. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, and I think it's in like you said, right? It's like the level of like just effort in there. So like I guess for me, how is it that like you almost said, right? You have to almost like switch your brain off because it's almost like we've
Hmm.
just been in this abusive relationship for so long that it's like
Yep.
you can like expect these things. So like I would ask like what was your I guess first memory of like rooting for the Knicks at the time back in the as we like to coin the dark era?
My first memory, um, hmm. I mean, I do remember it was like around the time, like sophomore year of high school. Because that's when I like started playing basketball, and I was like, oh, I need to like actually watch games to understand like the game of basketball. Um, and it was around that time, and I remember just being like, man, this team is trash. But I'm from here, so and that was like I could easily watch those games because the whole MSG thing, and I like growing up we didn't have League Pass or anything like that, so like Knicks games were the only reliable kind of team that I could watch. Um, that said, I didn't really learn much watching them because they weren't
You
very
learn how
good.
not to
But
turn the ball over,
yeah, I learned. I learned what not winning basketball looks like.
take
Yeah,
every shot you want up down the court.
pretty much. I learned what low effort, like dogging it. I learned how to smoke a lot of layups, things
A
like
lot
that.
of smoke layups. Learn how to get slapped in the face.
Oh yeah,
Shout
all
out,
that.
shout out Carmelo on the other side at that point.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah,
Damn, yeah.
slapped him and ran. Um, yeah, like it's funny because like my first core memory, it's funny like of Knicks fandom actually is even before that. It's when I was 10
Hmm.
because I was in a I don't remember if it was like a reading competition. It was something the Knicks were doing where it was basically like if you got like in some like basically if you got a certain grade or a certain test score on this
Hmm.
reading composition, they
Hmm.
would like whatever school they designated at the time, they paid for tickets for you to go. So my school, elementary school, got picked, and I don't know how this ended up working out. I ended up somehow getting in, right?
Cool.
But mind you, like I never went to Manhattan at this point,
Hmm.
right? I'm
Hmm.
10, so I've never actually stepped foot into like New York City, New York City. At
Hmm.
the time, my mom was working in the city, but she had to work that night. So my grandfather took me to MSG,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool! It's so cool, whatever." And I went with some teachers. Never forget, they were playing the Timberwolves, Kevin Garnett Timberwolves.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
I'm like kind of into the game. I don't really know what's happening, but like I'm like into the game. Like looking at the scoreboard, like I can count. I can tell one team is winning and the other team is losing.
Yep.
And I remember I turned to my teacher, who's clearly a hardened Knicks fan at this point, and I don't know anything about basketball at this time, right?
Yep.
I go and I ask my teacher, I go like, "Hey, they're losing." I go, "Hey, is there a fifth quarter?" Because in my mind, I'm thinking, "Hey, whatever, we'll keep
We
playing till
can
we
come back
win."
to one more quarter.
Come back one more. When I tell you, this man looked at me with so much pain in his face and said, "No, there ain't no damn fifth quarter." And I was like, "God damn, man."
You know what? Wait, can I interject real quick?
No, please go ahead.
Because I feel like I used to have the opposite thought as a kid. I used to be like, man, that was a great first quarter. I wish the game could just end right here. Do we have to play a second and third quarter? Like,
Stop the count.
stop the game. That's it. We won.
Oh man, yeah, and I think the fact is that from that point, seeing how this team is built, and I think to me ultimately, and I think this is the crazier point and the crazier testament to this is like this has got to be one of the most unconventional ways that you have built a team that could win the championship, right?
Hmm.
Your two best players you didn't draft, right?
Yep.
One
Yep.
you signed and the other one you traded for. But not just that, you um got one of your best players was someone who was essentially a bench player for most of his career. Now is in contention to make first team all NBA. Every one of your other starters you had to trade for in some
Hmm.
fashion or another, right? And if you look at there was this I remember the stat I was looking up because it was talking about the how when the Knicks were looking to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and they were saying how like that was a super unconventional way because no other team except for at the time the Pistons had ever had their two best players be players that they didn't draft from
Yep.
that point on. Now it's happened a few more times. It was the Raptors won the championship. They didn't draft their two best players. The Lakers, they just won the championship in
Yep.
2020. They didn't draft their two best players. So
Yep.
it's not as I guess taboo is maybe the only word I can say, but like dog, the fact that they have done all of this with the roster that they had and flipped it into these kind of deals is the craziest part. So yeah, like to me, how do you feel about the fact that they were basically just took a bunch of low spades and turned them into aces and kings?
Yeah, it's really crazy. And I feel like a lot of people aren't. I feel like a lot of Knicks fans have like a similar sentiment. Because I remember when Leon Rose took over. I remember when Phil Jackson took over. Um, it's like anytime the Knicks did anything, that it was always met with like this level of cynicism. And to this day, it's still kind of happening. But I do remember when Leon Rose took over. Um, there was a part of me that was like, "Oh, okay, I know where this is going. Like I've seen this movie before." Um, but it's kind of a miracle all of the stuff that they did, and they keep making all of these really smart, really savvy moves, and I feel like it's crazy for a lot of people. Like whenever, like when they did the cat trade, you remember you called me and you were like, I don't know. I was getting a
Yeah,
lot of
I
text
walked around
messages
the
from
block. I
friends.
talked to like 4 people.
Yeah, like everybody would like be texting me and stuff. They'd be like, "Oh, this is same old Knicks. They traded for like a kind of questionable, kind of sketchy guy." But here we are, and it's like they really turned it around. Like they had like since he took over, they haven't really made like a bad move.
No,
Maybe the Cam Reddish thing, but the Cam Reddish thing
it
wasn't
got you Josh
really.
Hart.
It got us Josh Hart.
You
So
want to know the moment I was bought in? Because like you, I was like, wait, we hiring the dude that Jay-Z just said hanging out with Worldwide Wes everywhere we go, we make a worldwide mess. Like I
yeah,
didn't put together that I was the same guy for like a
mm-hmm,
minute.
yep,
Um, it was the moment I was like, oh, this is different was when they didn't trade for Donovan Mitchell.
oh yeah, yeah,
That
yeah, yeah.
moment, that little split second decision to me showed me that okay, this they're trying to build something. This ain't no quick fix because if you
Mm-hmm.
remember coming off that season, they were terrible, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They missed the play in. Like again, like this is one of those things like you got to be real bad to not make the
Yeah,
playoffs in the Eastern Conference.
that was
Their
after the
best
We Hair season, right?
Yeah, it was right after the We Hear series the season. Their best player basically looked like he turned back into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
I mean, none of the young guys on the team saying quickly, did anyone really think there was like a lot of intrinsic value in them in
Mm-hmm.
terms of either being stars or
Mm-hmm.
being just high level role players? Now, to be fair, to get back to your point about like media cynicism,
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily think that like the players on the team that are young who play get the same level of grace as
Yep.
far as like the players on other teams, right? Like
Mm.
I still remember Terrence Davis getting a all rookie spot over RJ Barrett, which that
That's
dude's not in the
crazy.
league anymore.
That's insane.
Like you can say
Yeah,
whatever you want about RJ Barrett, that dude's not in the league anymore.
that's
Eric
crazy.
Pascal is not in the league anymore. Um, so like, um, the fact that like that is such a move that you would look at and be like, oh, the Knicks are going to do that, right? Everyone's telling
Mm-hmm.
them to do this, make all these massive trades, yada yada, and they basically said, no, this is our price,
Yep.
and we don't care if we don't get this guy. This is our price. We're not going over it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
to me, that level of discipline,
Mm-hmm.
because again, that could have blown up in their face bad. He got traded to your conference,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to a team that people thought was good. You could have
Yeah.
had him, and that's such an easy slope that could have went down.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they said not only just said no, but were able to put the guy that they did get in Brunson to be eye to eye with him, and not only that,
Yeah.
beat him in a playoff series where they had
Mm-hmm.
home court advantage.
Yep.
And to me, that was the day that I think that all of that same shit you said, right? Knicks for
Mm-hmm.
clicks,
Mm-hmm.
everything they do gets hit with a level of cynicism. They'll never win here. Died.
Mm-hmm.
To me,
Yep.
in my opinion. Now it's obviously not all going to go away. People, look,
Yeah.
motherfuckers say
It's still
weird shit on
there.
the internet every day. But to me, that was the
Fine.
day that it died.
Yep. Same. That was the day where I was like, okay, these guys have been cooking for a minute. Let me just see. They have a plan. Like there's rational thinking going on here. This isn't just like scarcity mindset like it's been most of our life.
Yeah,
Where it used to just be like, oh, there's a disgruntled star that's pretty good, that's unhappy with the situation. Let's throw the bag at him and hope he can like turn our franchise around.
yeah, exactly.
Because that's what
It
it
was
was for so long.
Yeah, it was just like, now I will defend the Carmelo Anthony trade just because I think you just gave up a bunch of nothing. But
Yeah,
to
I
your
mean,
point,
different. Yeah,
it's different because it's like, what is your team? Like, you still got to build a team
you
out,
do.
It's especially now in the NBA, how hard it is to build teams. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just microwave this shit and then thinking you're going to get a championship. Like, look how many
Yep.
teams you could even quote unquote argue if I told you 3 years ago that a team with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal might miss the playoffs,
Yeah,
you would have looked at
that's
me like I
yeah,
had 8 heads, and they all
yeah,
played. No one's hurt. Everyone's playing.
yeah,
And it's just like because you need to understand. I think this is one of the great things now. I think of a lot of like these older guys who have podcasts and things like that. Is like just basically explaining like, nah, you really just got to do your job. Like
yeah.
sometimes you really just got to do X for us to win Y. And when you got dudes on the team that's like not really about that,
Mm-hmm.
it causes this friction. And it was always like they and that's another thing too with the Knicks too. Like during all that time, you remember this, they were never that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they
Mm.
only won like in the teens once.
Yeah.
No, twice.
Twice.
The year
Yeah.
they got Porzingis and the year they got RJ.
Yep.
Every other year they won 20 to 30 games, which is this weird middle spot where
Yeah.
like
Mediocrity.
you're not getting better, but you're not getting you're just kind of stuck in this weird middle. And then they never seem to be able to just develop their own players.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that of it all was the hardest thing because you just always felt you were in this like weird middle ground of like you're not really competing, but you don't suck enough to get top prospects.
Yeah.
Which also goes to the fact that like I don't believe in tanking. That's just
Yeah.
a
Same.
code as a
It's just
culture.
bad for everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't bring anything. Like I remember on the New York Times where they said we are not covering this basketball team anymore.
Damn.
They said that they printed it out.
That's rude. That's disrespectful.
Exactly, and it's like I think. Yeah, and I think just to pass on to you too is like that ability to like stay patient in a space that is not clearly a patient area. I think is the biggest reason why I think a lot of fans have just been behind the team. But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts about this squad. Like I know we were just mentioning Cat and how we were having a long conversation about that. So like, tell me, how do you feel about Cat coming in and just this team right now going forward, trying to win the chip this year?
I like this team so much. Like not just I like them as people, you know? Like not only are they really skilled players, they just seem like really great guys. And I feel like that's a really underrated aspect of the team because it's like absolutely you need talent to win, but you also need chemistry. You need like mature people in the locker room. Like you need guys that are going to buy in. You need guys that like know their role and like want to excel in that role and they want to work hard and like have fun and like play together. And I feel like pretty much all of the Tibbs Knicks teams have kind of been that. But this team specifically, like you can kind of just like you can see it. Like you could see them on the bench. You can kind of look at the starting five when they're on the floor together. There's like a vibe there that I feel like is kind of missing for a lot of other teams. But yeah, it's crazy. I to this day, I still can't believe that I get to watch Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns play basketball for my home team.
Yeah.
Like two of the most skilled players in the league today. Like I see Cat do some crazy things as a 7-footer. Like 7-footers don't move like that. Oh, not really. I mean, they kind of do now, but
and that's
he's a
the thing
big
too.
person.
Of the new age centers,
Mm.
he's right. He's there with all of them.
Yeah, he is.
And it's so crazy because Cat in particular for me, and it's so funny how this worked out. The season that Mikel's having, to me, everything from start to right now was the season I assumed Cat was going to have.
Yo,
I
same.
thought
Same.
I thought Mikel was going to come in and from day one it was good.
Be cooking, yeah.
Cooking. Because I'm like, all right, maybe you can argue like where you got to find your spots on the court, where you got to find your shots. That the offense to me was going to take some time, not in the sense of him hitting shots, but just like finding where he's got to be, right?
Yeah.
And for Cat, I was just always like, oh god, this is gonna have these stupid fouls. He gonna start
Mm-hmm.
flipping up in the air, right? Like just put in horrible turnovers. I thought this was
Yep.
like the gonna be the Randall experience part two, and the fact that it's been flipped completely. I don't think Towns has gotten any shit since
Yeah.
day one.
Pretty much.
Like that, if you told me that we would have gave him I mean zero crap,
Yeah,
not
he
like the
got
flipping up, obviously, yeah, like will you always be like, man, I wish he was better defensively, yeah, like
sure.
that's always just going to be there. But I think it's the fact that he rebounds so well, the fact that
He's
his hands are
fighting.
like damn, they're busted up. He's still
Yeah.
going out there getting you 14 rebounds a night,
Yeah.
still able to play make and pass and like affect
Yep.
the game. Like he has this thing now of his thumb that like I am generally worried about, and we'll see what
Same.
happens. But like he since he did it, it's not like he's been like a bad player.
Yeah,
Like
he's still been impactful.
still grabbing rebounds, still making passes, still able to score the ball, still does what he needs to do.
Still moving his feet when he can.
Yeah. And I think for him, and I think this is another thing I think I've always taken away from like him specifically, right? And just
Mm-hmm.
anyone who comes to New York a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter what you did where you were, right? I talk about this a lot with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers comes in and he talks a lot of cash shit and he says a lot of crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dog, no one gives a fuck about that if you're not out there dropping touchdowns or winning games.
It's true.
They don't, right? You could have won so many MVPs, championships, all that other stuff. You ain't do it here, dog. And you got to realize that at the end of the day, people don't ride for you for what you did. They ride for you what you're about to do. And I
Mm-hmm.
think from a basketball standpoint, even with Towns' flaws, which I do think he's gotten better at some of them,
Yeah.
he is a guy who clearly that soft thing, that's not there. This dude's
Yeah,
not a
I don't
soft
see it.
player. I don't see it. You ain't out there grabbing a bunch of different rebounds, getting fouled all the time, putting the ball back up, playing in almost every game if you soft, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
We were
the
lied to.
fact that, sorry, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
We were lied to.
Oh yeah, they lied to us. Facts. They were out here not telling the truth. And the fact that he's basically come here and almost like, and I've really never seen this from an athlete. I've seen athletes come here and they've played either what they were playing to, like basically their standard, or obviously if they were drafted here, they get a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if that New York is almost like made his impact even more supercharged, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is Cat, but a very, very, very much more dominant version of him.
Yep.
And the fact that he's been able to come here and it hasn't gone sideways, to me, it speaks to not only just the Knicks, but just for him,
Mm-hmm.
because and that's another thing, like you said, right? It's just very. I don't know if you're from here, how much that matters, but listen, Jalen's from here, Cat's from here. There's
Mm-hmm.
a level of these people that I think just has to click in your mind of being like, yo, these motherfuckers, like if I'm not putting in the work, they gonna boo my ass.
Yep.
And I think athletes, for whatever reason, in certain spots, they have this like pinnacle moment of it can go one way or the other. I think of someone like
Mm-hmm.
Francisco Lindor. He was getting
Mm-hmm.
booed his first couple of years. Now
He
that
was,
dude
yeah.
runs the Mets.
Yep.
Now they got Juan Soto. So like you kind of almost see it like happening with guys over time as they get older. Like, oh no, like this is what this city really cares about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's maturity. That's what I was talking about earlier with like the character. From day one, Cat kind of came in and was like, "This is Jalen's team. I'm just here to support him." And that spoke volumes to me because I knew he wasn't gonna come in and be on some bullshit, being like, "Oh, I'm not getting enough touches, so I'm not gonna rebound the ball. Or I'm not getting enough calls, so I'm not gonna play defense." Like he's like every game he's trying. Like you remember the game we went to, the Magic game that we went to,
Yep.
and he was getting fouled Every time he
Mo
touched the ball
Wagner
by
gave him
Mo
that nice
Wagner,
shoulder from down from Germany. You know what I'm saying?
and
Hold
you
that.
remember that you remember that play he made where he got hacked like twice, and he looked at the ref like, "Come on," and then he still hit the shot, and then he ran back and played defense.
Yeah. Take that two for you, and then went back on defense. He would have never done that. That's the
He,
thing. The same
yeah,
picture of him going at DeMarcus Cousins, and I
yep,
don't know if people
yeah,
like watch the full video of that. He ends up just like falling down.
yeah.
And the fact that he did the same meme is right there. It's about to happen. All right. I remember they had the meme of him trying to move Evan Mobley
Yep.
early in the year. And they were like, oh, here it goes, starts again. And he just said, you know what? I got this for you right here.
Hmm.
And that was it. And it's, yeah, like you said, man, it is a complete, I've never seen a player go through such a renaissance in
It's
my life.
maturity, man. He just
Yeah.
matured.
That's another thing.
He's
It's
in
funny that you
his
said that too. No, go ahead.
no, he's in his prime. Like he's at that age where it's like things are starting to come together for him. And he dealt with a lot in his life, especially like, the pandemic and his mom and stuff. But like I feel like all of that adversity like really put a lot of things into perspective for him. And this is just an assumption, but like you can kind of just like see it in his demeanor, how he speaks to the media, how he speaks about his teammates. Like he said it the other day. He was like, I was a boy in Minnesota and I'm a man here in New York.
Just
It's
figuring
cool
out
to
the
see.
league. Yeah. And like you
And
said, right?
himself.
Yeah, and look, I think there's because I feel like we've seen a lot of like quote unquote young teams in this city. Man, young
Hmm.
teams in this city, they
It's
they
hard.
go they go by the wayside because like yo, you 23 with 100 million in your pocket in New York City, you
Yep.
going to act wild. You
Hmm.
know, there's a level of like grittiness that I think people don't see. You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like they don't be thinking about the models and the financial guys down the street. They're not thinking about the construction workers who work in 12-hour shifts going home.
Hmm.
And they
Sleeping on the
but they
train.
excited to watch the Knicks, because the Knicks represent something to them because that's the city. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Um and yeah. And so speaking of that too, it's like and to me I feel like the conversation about how the Knicks feel good is like that's how you know the city is up
Yep.
because
Wow. As up as it can be.
as up as it can be. Our mayor is out here now. His case might be dropped. Wonder how that
Yeah.
happened, right? Like he had a
What a
case and now it might go away. Baca had a weird
interesting.
case. Why is he around? I'm just like,
What a
he had a
time.
case. Now it might not be a case. What was he doing the last couple of weeks? I don't know, man. Do your Googles, right? I don't
Yeah.
know. What was he doing the last couple of weeks? That's crazy, man. Man missed out on Martin Luther King celebration. Think about that. Anyway, but yeah, like I always feel like the Knicks are really the team of the city versus every other team that we got because you
Yep.
legitimately have like split. Some things are split either way, right? Jets,
Hmm.
Giants, Rangers, Islanders, Devils, if you want to include that, Mets,
That's not
Yankees.
really. Is that?
No, no,
That's
no.
not
There's a
really
lot of.
split
There's still a
either.
lot of. I'm about to say Yankees. There's a lot of Islanders fans. That's more Knicks. Not Knicks. That's more Mets, Yankees, where there's more
Yeah.
Yankees fans, but there's
Yankees
still
fans and
enough
Lions.
Mets fans. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
They make
yeah,
some noise.
they'll make. Oh yeah, they'll make noise. That place gets popping. That's also by where I used to live. Now,
That's right.
shout out to Islanders.
Yep.
But the reason why I bring that up is kind of touching base on the Knicks is because, like I was saying before, is like that New York culture very much has more grittiness to it. But I
Hmm.
feel like people tend to get that kind of confused and lost at times.
Yeah.
And I think this team kind of embodies that and always has embodied that. Uh,
Hmm.
Even though people have this weird thing about like offense being bad, it's like no,
Yeah.
offense is very good. They just got to play enough defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I want you. Can you talk about the culture and the grime of this city and what that kind of means to you?
Yeah. I mean, this it's hard. Like New York is it's a great place, but it's also a really difficult place. I do remember. Oh yeah. Okay. So I remember leaving high school, right? Because how many people on campus was there? Maybe
300.
300 tops.
Yeah.
Would you say everybody knew who you were? Like everybody knew your name on
Yeah, oh
campus?
yeah. Everyone knew who I was, yeah, because I was the man.
So, yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll give you that one.
I was not
You,
the
yeah,
man. I was just
now
fucking.
you, now you had your fans. You had your
Everyone
fans.
had my fans.
You had your fans.
That's hilarious. It's hard to
There was
not
a
have
corner
fans. It's 300 people, man.
when it's only 300 people. Listen, some people
Exactly.
had no fans. So,
Exactly. You know what you need? Haters.
yeah,
You don't have haters, you ain't popping, right?
you're doing something wrong.
Doing something wrong if you don't have haters.
But I remember graduating from high school and being like, yeah, like, um, I took all the art classes. Like, I'm one of the best artists in the school. And then I graduated and I went to Pratt in Brooklyn. Well, I was taking classes in Manhattan. And I remember just feeling like so small and insignificant in the city. And then going to a school in the city where the competition is just like way up here. Um, and that was a really hard adjustment for me, going from everybody knows who I am to nobody knowing who I am. Nobody even seeing me and nobody even really caring. Because that's kind of what the city is most of the time. Like, you're one of a million and you struggling and everybody else is struggling. And nobody's really gonna like help you. I mean, if you fall down, somebody will help you up, but like
Yeah. And
you're not gonna get a handout in New York. Like, you have to figure it out
yeah.
for
And I
yourself
think
to make it
and I think for
happen.
you, even just you bringing that up, right? Because I did not attend college in the city, but you did,
Hmm.
right? And I think
Yep.
that struggle for you was like earlier than it became for me because I had to
Hmm.
enjoy that back when I came back.
When you came
And
back, yeah.
yeah. In like 15, right? And like
Hmm.
exactly what you're saying, right? Like no one's gonna help you out, right? But you gotta still know how to move out here, right? That's why it's always so
Hmm.
funny where like I don't know if you have friends who are not from the city, but
Yeah, I do.
they um anytime they come around, I feel like they always say, "Oh, the city's so expensive," and I always look at them as like, "Yes, but you doing the expensive shit."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you out here trying to go to Mr. Purple and all these other places, and I'm like, nah, I'll just go to SOBs. You know what I
Yo,
mean?
you out here
Like
getting an apartment in Manhattan.
exactly. You get an apartment in the city, dog. I'm like, what are you? He's like, oh, I gotta get to work. I'm like, that's called the train, man. Like, what exactly are we even doing? I met a girl years ago who was telling me how she lived in Queens
Hmm.
but never took the train. She was like, "Oh, the city's so expensive." Da da. This girl was Ubering every single day.
That's crazy.
I'm like,
That
well, I would see things to be expensive if you out here living a fast life.
Yeah. I I can't even fathom that.
Yeah, I don't want to fathom those payments.
Yeah, congestion pricing. She's not doing that no more.
She's
She on
not
the
doing it
train
now.
now,
Can't be.
or she out the
But
city.
gotta be. But like, yeah, like, and it's like, I think, I think going back to just like that grind of what you're saying, like how like you gotta like kind of get out the mud in a way. It's like that's in all fields,
Yeah,
media, art, hip hop, tech, like
hospitality,
yeah,
anything.
everything, right? And it's like I think also the thing is like you said is at least for me it's like I remember I went to LA this past last year at the end of last year, and
Hmm.
maybe I'm just not an LA person,
Hmm.
but I always felt like everyone was trying too hard to be nice to me,
Hmm.
if that makes any sense.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's like you would say hello, and it always felt like they went into like this almost like deep monologue of
Hmm.
like how their hello was so different than all the other people, and I was like, this is too much.
Hmm.
Whereas like in New York, it's like you got to stay ready. Like people out here not people will bump into you and keep it moving, right?
Won't even look
And
at you.
exactly, and like you got to be able. I always tell people, you know, you need to have anywhere between 10 to 15% of fuck you in this city.
Pretty
Like you
much.
just need that much of it. You don't got to be an asshole. Like I feel like that's over 50%, right?
Yep.
But you got to have at least 10 to 15 because
Yep.
someone will try you. And I think
Hmm.
like you said too, right? There's like days where you're like, "Man, this is the greatest place in the world." And there's days you're like, "Man, I fucking hate this
Yeah.
place."
Fuck this place. Yeah.
Yeah. Um but yeah, and I think And I think the sad thing too is like a lot of that culture stuff, like you were saying, is gone, or at least somewhat going away. You know,
Yeah, it's fading a bit.
yeah, like we were just talking to offline before about how like certain places by me, I won't dox myself and say where I live exactly, but like there are a lot of like Caribbean spots that are gone now. A lot of like black
Oh yeah,
owned bars are going away. Even the thing I just mentioned, SOBs, that's been gone for 5 years now, I think,
years
because there
now.
was a stabbing
Yeah,
there.
something like that.
Something
Yeah,
like I think it was a stabbing. Um, but yeah, like I think that to me is like kind of a sad part of this, right? It's like some of the places that like we had are kind of almost shifting in a sense. You know what I mean?
yeah. The city is like I feel like a lot of the core things are still there, but it just looks very different. Like even today on the way home, like the platform is crowded because there's train delays. Everybody's tired. It's cold, and it's like I feel like for people, I remember a time where I was like, oh, this person isn't like this city might not be for you. Like, because you've been there. You've been tired after work. The platform is crowded. The train taking forever to come, and the train pulls up. And now people are like pushing you out the way because they're like, I need to get on this train because I need to get home. I remember seeing a lady just get like moved. She didn't get to catch the train because she was standing pretty close, but she got moved out the way. And she was just like flabbergasted. She was like, "What? How could people be like this? How could they do that?" And it's like, that's just how it is. Like, it's not personal. People are just trying to get to where they gotta go because they have shit that they need to get done. And if they don't do that, then they're just gonna be stuck. They're gonna be stuck on the platform. So it's like,
They got to get
you
somewhere,
kind of,
bro.
yeah,
Bro, I saw. I was working this one. I was working at Complex. So I was in Rockefeller Center. I was walking back to the office, and I swear to you, I saw Jake Gyllenhaal walking towards me. And mind you, for those who know, Jake Gyllenhaal is pretty tall. Like he's not a small guy. You
yeah,
could tell it was him. He was wearing a beard and glasses, but like it wasn't that hard to tell it was him. When I tell you
yeah.
someone threw their shoulder into Jake Gyllenhaal and
Oh yeah,
just kept
nobody
it pushing,
cares. Yeah,
no one cared. No one stopped. No, I looked. I saw this whole interaction. They kind of whatever brushed it off and just kept it pushing. And I was like, man, there's no other place in the world that would happen. There's
yeah,
no other
it's
place in the world that
crazy.
would happen.
Yeah,
Like
up by there, you see celebrities all the time. They just be walking around, and like I saw Jon Stewart the other day. Not the other day, like a couple months ago. But I was just like, oh, he kind of short, and I just kept it pushing because
exactly,
I got shit to do.
exactly. You just said it. You got shit to do, right?
Yeah,
And I think that part of it is just that's for the people who either get it and don't get it. And I'm always fascinated to me by to even to spin this back around. It's like the athletes who like some of them just don't get it, you know. And
yeah.
I always feel like there's a little bit of a almost how should I put this like a temp like we almost bring down our stars to a level if that makes sense
Mm.
because it's like you almost don't quote unquote like that flash that I always like to time like Odell Beckham, great
Mm.
player, one of my favorite Giants of all time, didn't fit the city at all. Like
Yeah,
he didn't make sense. Giants didn't make sense. They were all over the place. Didn't work
yeah,
out, right? And I oftentimes think about guys like that where it's like, why didn't it work out? Like that guy's not a talented player. You know,
yeah.
it wasn't as
He's
if like
supremely
he
talented.
yeah, he won rookie of the year. He almost had a
Yeah,
he missed 4 games and like had set the Giants receiving record that um uh Malik Neighbors, took me a second to remember his name, just broke, mind you, in
yeah,
17 games. Odell
yeah.
did that in 12.
It's
I
crazy.
feel like,
That
yeah,
dude was
exactly. I feel like that part
he
gets
was
missed
like
a lot.
really good.
That's what, again, in 12 games, he had the
Yeah,
most catches in Giants history. Um, and like it just didn't work out for him. And I don't think it had anything to do with talent. I think,
yeah,
like we said before, there is a level of griminess that is just such a core foundation of here, right?
yeah.
To, as they say, get it out the mud is just part
Hmm.
of the. You got to be willing to do that, you know, right?
Yeah, yeah. you really have to like you really have to just humble yourself and get to work.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, your feelings are gonna get hurt. And if you don't get to work, you're not gonna serve. Like it's too expensive and there's too much going on all the time. Like you're gonna get priced out the city or you'll just be homeless.
Yeah. And you
And
don't want
like
to be homeless in New York City.
not in this place.
Not in this weather.
And like if you look at like all of the guys that are like sports royalty in New York, they kind of all have that kind of mentality. Like Jalen, um, Clyde, Derek Jeter, Francisco
I must say
Lindor
Marcus.
now.
Michael Strahan.
Yeah, all of those guys are like really humble and they work hard. And they take accountability for when things go bad because they know that's what they need to do to make it in this city.
Bro, I was thinking about this the other day, man. Eli Manning is, I'm going to assume, is
Oh yeah,
going to
Eli
be
too.
named a Hall of Famer in a week, right?
Yeah.
Um, I remember they were calling this man Sheeli
Yeah, it's
on tape.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was, man, talk radio was killing Eli
Yep.
religiously. You know what I'm saying? And you know what he said? I got 2 rings for y'all. Keep calling me
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you might not think, and that's another thing too, is like, and this is the one thing I always feel like about sports and how I'm as much as I love like the information that we get. I love learning more information about sports. I love learning more science or like what's a better shot or what's more
Hmm.
efficient. We get into a point where this shit's getting like a little bit too nerdum. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
can't name you all of Michael Jordan's stats, but I know this
Yeah.
man was getting buckets. No one can tell me how many points per game Kobe Bryant scored, except for the 1 year he averaged 35. I just know it off the top of my head because
Yeah.
that was the most points ever per season by a player since Will Chamberlain.
Yeah.
However, you don't care about that. You care about him dunking on Dwight Howard in the finals.
Yeah.
You care about the play that he had to Shaq in the West Conference Finals against Portland, where he threw it up and Shaq dunked the ball.
Yeah.
Like, sports are about moments; they're not about
Yeah.
stats.
I was just about to say
And
that.
and the fact that people are almost like so caught up with it, where it becomes like almost like a personality trait, where it's like if these things do not matter, we do not make X. I think is
Yeah.
where it gets kind of lost in it. It's like it's about those moments that you have that capture people, right? That captivate the mind of like, wow, I
Yep.
just saw something that maybe I've never seen again, right? I cannot tell you how many threes Dante DiVincenzo made in game 2 of that opening series against Philadelphia. But you know what I know? He made the one that mattered the most.
Yep.
All right. The last one. All right. I literally can barely remember that game. Like I really just remember the last minute and a half. That's it.
Yeah. That moment overshadowed the entire series, to be honest, for me. Actually, that's not true. I remember a lot of things from that series, but that was like the biggest thing.
Yeah. Like also the fact that that never happens to us ever.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like I remember exactly where I was. Speaking of which, we were speaking to each other about it.
Yep.
I was in Florida seeing one of my good friends, him and his family, and I went to a bar with some people, and I was watching the game, and they were actually having a trivia night. I kind of feel bad because it was in Florida, so there's not that many people. It's a Tuesday night, and I'm watching the game. We're kind of watching it. It's like going back and forth, and like it gets to the point where you're like, all right, this is over, all right. But then I remember Laurie missed a free throw, and they went back down, and then that's when Jalen hit the first three. Because down
The
6.
three that like bounced off the front
Bounced
of the
in,
rim
hit
and
the
then went
front
back
of the
in.
rim, and fell in.
He was having a
Then,
bad shooting game that game too.
exactly. No, I'm lying. They were down 5. Sorry. Down
Mm-hmm.
5. Hit the 3. So now they're down 2. He was having those first 2 games was terrible.
Yeah.
Then he stole it from Maxey, or Josh Hart stole it from Maxey.
Oh yeah.
Pop, got to Dante, miss. Hartenstein got the rebound, popped again, hit it. I'm screaming at a level that might have gotten the cops called in this
Probably.
bar because there's
I
no
could
one
imagine.
there. Like there's no one there, And like the funniest thing is there's a guy doing a trivia night. And he's like trying to conduct this trivia night, and he just stops like, what's going on? Because I'm just in the corner going crazy. And then obviously he ended up winning the game. And I was like, that was the best game I've ever seen to this day.
I think so. Well, that Melo game on Easter might have been it for me.
that was great.
That was crazy.
I remember I was for that too. I was at an ex-girlfriend's apartment and I watched it in like a super small TV in her dorm room. And I was like, and I remember it was an ABC game because like back then, you can only watch.
It was a Sunday game.
Streaming wasn't a thing. So like I didn't watch most Knicks games. Like the best season they had, I was in college and I kept like following it on ESPN. But I watched all their national TV games and I was like, oh, this is lit. But yeah, that Melo Easter, it was like 45 on Easter. Shout out to Derrick Rose, 2 missed free throws. Never forget that.
Oh, that's right.
2 missed free throws. That's what again, missed free throws, man. Those things will come back. That's why every time I always check the game, I always go, did you turn the ball over and did you miss free throws?
You make your free throws, yeah.
Exactly. 9 times out of 10, if you hit free throws, you don't turn the ball over, you rebound the ball, you will win the game.
Yeah, it'll be competitive.
It'll be competitive. You'll be in the game if you do those 3 things.
It's pretty simple.
Very simple way to stay in basketball games. But yeah, no, thank you so much, Andrew. I really appreciate this. I know it was kind of a late ad at the last moment, but you have anything you want to say? Last closing segments, promote anything, tell people where to find you if you want to have people find you.
Don't find me. I'm not anywhere.
Nice.
If you see me on the street, you can say what up though.
Gotcha.
I want to promote the Knicks, obviously. So go Knicks. Go watch their games.
Watch more games.
I can't even say we should have did this earlier. I would have been like vote for Cat and Jalen, but we don't need to do that anymore.
You don't need to do that when you got 2 starters. See, this is where you came from. 50 years.
50 years.
The
5-0.
Bucks did this last year.
Well, we had 2 All-Stars.
We had 2 All-Stars last year.
But not 2 starters. Yeah.
Not 2 stars. We had 2 All-Stars last year. We haven't had a starter in 10 years. No, that's not true. 13
no, that's
years.
not true.
Yeah, that's 13 years. No. 10 years. Melo, the last time Melo started was 15.
Oh, right. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Then he didn't make an All-Star team again.
Because, no, we're not going to talk about that.
Shout out to we know why.
Yeah.
We know why.
Yeah.
Hey,
Shout
listen, he got 2 rings with the Knicks too, man. So, complicated history. You know who? Phyllis.
Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, sabotage.
Yeah, the saboteur, man. Went on live TV and said, we are going to trade Kristaps Porzingis. Why? I don't know. Vibes. Fell asleep during a Donovan Mitchell workout.
Damn.
Dark times.
That's behind us now, though.
I know. Look at us now. But yeah, man, thank you so much again. And thank you to everyone listening to the Men Who Cry podcast. Again, like, subscribe, review. If you don't, you're a January 6er. And I'll see you next week.